Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, back with another action packed session. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the adult house hack. This is a new strategy that has kind of been sweeping, I'll call it sweeping the nation. I mean, there's a lot of new stuff going on in the real estate game, and we'll be talking about, a lot of that tonight. If you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment that says I subscribe. For everyone who leaves that comment, I'll send you instant access to my free real estate training. It'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on a dollar all across the country. Don't want to miss out on that free offer. Click some of the links in the description to tap into some of the free trainings that we have for you guys. We'll have a real estate ride along coming up in January, like a New Year's themed ride along. So we just have a lot of stuff coming up for you guys. But stay tapped in and drop any questions you have in the chat section, the comment section. We'll answer your questions as we go. But you want to stick around today in particular, because we're going to talk about this adult house hack strategy. Little known strategy, but a lot of people are using it. And there are new regulations coming out right now. Like, some of these regulations have come out days ago or a week ago. And they're showing a trend towards the strategy, in my opinion. And you guys know this is kind of like my nerd real estate economist type of energy coming out. But I've been talking about density. I've been one of the people, the few voices that talks about density in the market. A lot of people talked about gentrification, and I've kind of coined the word gentrification, adding density back to neighborhoods, because that, to me, has been the purest solution to the affordable housing crisis, has been to go back into these communities and densify them. And that trend it's essentially catching on nationwide. And how they're doing it is with ADUs, accessory dwelling units. And I dropped a video in the YouTube channel on ADUs, and you can always check that out and kind of learn more. But with these ADUs, you can actually build more property on your land and increase your cash flow. And this is a part of that adult house hacking strategy that we'll get into, how to execute on it, how to map it out, what's the kind of X's and O's of that strategy. So I'm going to put that together for you guys. It's kind of behind me, and I'll walk us through it. So make sure you stick around to the end, ask any questions you have, so that you can get as educated as possible on this, because this could be the difference between many of you getting a deal or not. A lot of this stuff is happening on the West Coast and the Midwest. It's making its way to the Northeast, where the Northeast is still pretty blue and into density, but some of these cities are already pretty dense. So we're seeing this a lot out west, where prices are way higher. So if you're a West Coaster, you definitely want to pay super high attention. They're doing this heavy in Chicago. They're doing this heavy in a lot of places. So you can make pretty good money. Let's get into some mindset. And guys, as you have questions, comments, just drop them in the chat section as we go. I'll stop and kind of answer some of these questions as we go. And once again, if you're new to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment that says I subscribed, and share the content with anyone who you think can get value from just learning about real estate and boosting their family. So the mindset that we want to have this week is that when one door closes, another one opens. So you have to stay tapped in. I get the blessing of talking with hundreds of you every month. People who are interested in mentorship, people who are interested in just accelerating, taking their family to the next level with real estate. And some of us are just, I would say, not overly concerned about the market, but concerned about it. We look at the market. Where are rates going? Are prices too high? Are we in a bubble? What you have to understand about the real estate market is that it's constantly in an ebb and flow. It is a local market. So as things are happening nationally, on a local level, opportunities are opening. Doors are closing on some strategies, which is why you guys know I always preach, you have to have multiple strategies to win in real estate long term. You're not going to come in with just one strategy and ride that strategy out for 80 years typically. Like, it's not going to work, because the market is constantly changing. But when one door closes on an opportunity, another one opens. This adult house hack is a strategy opening, a door opening. And this is a reason why you have to stay tapped in at all times. Even when you think the market is bad, or the market's not looking too good, or you're not going to be able to get the value you want, or rates are too high, or all these different things and different information that you'll see in the news from a lot of naysayers, you have to stay tapped in, because if you choose the sideline, hey, I'm just going to sit and wait it out, you're going to be waiting indefinitely, because you're not going to see the other doors opening. And when these doors open, they don't stay open forever. That's another kind of wrinkle to this. So windows of opportunity open up when the market is in flux, when they want to densify areas or they want to do different things in some of these markets. And you can come in and get a bunch of deals done. While this ADU frenzy is kind of on, and I believe it will fade out at some point. We don't know when, but at some point it will. You can kind of do whatever you want in some of these municipalities. There are municipalities where you could buy a plot of land, build one house, and build 4 more ADUs. Or you could blow up all the houses and just on the plot of land, build 8 ADUs. And these are just smaller kind of, we'll call them tiny homes for lack of a better concept. But just think about like a ranch house, 2-bed, 1-bath, where you can build more cash flow. While you can do it, you need to start to learn it now. And if you're in a market where it makes sense and you can build good cash flow, you want to execute on it now while the regulations are lax, while people are running with this strategy. If you wait too long, you're just going to miss your opportunity. And once you miss it, you're kind of cooked, at that point. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the strategy. Once again, if you guys have questions, just drop them in the chat section and we'll keep flowing through this thing. So what is the adult house hack at its essence? The adult house hack strategy at its essence is taking house hacking a step further. So if you think about house hacking, the overall concept of house hacking is, I'm a new investor, I want to get started, but I don't know much, I don't have a lot of money, maybe I have iffy credit, and I want to get a multifamily. So the adult house hack was kind of birthed out of that set of conditions. I want to do all these things. I want to get a house. I want to get a big multi because I heard multifamily's good, but I'm starting off with little cash and maybe compromised credit. So then you have the FHA loan. So you can take your FHA loan, put down 3.5%, if you guys didn't know that. Anybody's super green. And you can acquire up to 4 units. So up to a 4-unit apartment building. And the normal house hack is to live in one of those units and then rent out the other units. So you go in, you live in, let's say you get a triplex, you live on the top floor, you rent out the bottom 2 floors, and the rental income from the bottom 2 floors is typically enough to either cover 100% of the mortgage or cover the mortgage and leave you with a little bit of cash flow at the end. So that's the traditional house hack. Where the adult house hack takes it a step further is the adult house hack is like, yeah, the volume is a bit low, and I'm not sure why. Give me a second. I'm going to try to exit and come back in and see if that solves the volume issue. Okay, can you guys hear me now? Still nothing on my end. No sound. Come on, StreamYard. Any sound now or still low? I need. Oh, we're good now. I need like one more thumbs up. Okay. All right. Let me turn this one off. So good, good. I'm glad you guys can hear. It was a little low on my end. I wasn't sure if it was just me. But the adult house hack that was kind of bred from. I just want to get the biggest multifamily property that I can get my hands on, like just the biggest deal. And that's a good way to go. But a lot of us who are older, or we might have our own, our families, our kids, we're like, well, I don't really want to live with anybody. You kind of get that thought process. I don't want to live with anybody. I kind of want to do my own thing. So then the adult house hack is built. And what the adult house hack is you go out and you find a property. You could even find a multi if maybe you could get like a bigger deep duplex that was kind of not as attached, or you didn't have as many tenants directly with you. But some people are going out and just getting a single family, the property that they want, with the intent of, I'm going to move in, I'll fix it up a little bit, and then when I move out, I'll sell it and I'll make some money off of that or roll it into the next deal. But where you get a little bit more frisky is you start to target deals that have land. You want to buy this property on like 1 acre, on like an acre of land. Like give me a property with half an acre plot, an acre plot, because you're starting to understand that the whole frenzy that the government is getting behind now on these ADUs and creating affordable housing, you can now take advantage of it with that land lot. If you buy this primary residence now and live in it, you can now, with the land that is attached to the property, build an accessory dwelling unit. And you can get this financed. Some of these ADUs, you can get them financed essentially on like Freddie Fannie loans. So you could do a FHA 203K even on this property, put a little bit of renovations into this one, and then get money to build this property up from the ground up, to go build an ADU. The real cool wrinkle that has been coming out recently, which is pretty interesting, is you can not only build the ADU on your land, but you can then get it reparceled lot, get a new tax ID for the land. Yeah, subdivision, what we're talking about. And 1/4 on an acre, some of these subdivisions, they're all, so you have to do your research on the municipality that you're investing in to see what their specific rules are. This is where kind of mentorship comes in, and how to do that research and how to master these things and connecting with the architects and all those things. But I don't want to get into too heavy into that now. If anybody wants to do this in the mentorship program, we can get into it. If you're on the fence about mentorship and you're like, hey, I want to get into something like this, but I don't want to make a ton of mistakes, then you should definitely tap in. But you can now build this land, reparcel it, get a separate tax ID, and you could sell the property too. So some people are building these ADUs for like 200, 250,000 on a land lot on just a slab, a concrete slab, and building, a one-story building. It's not overly expensive in some areas. And then popping them, selling them for 350, 400, and taking that profit and paying down their mortgage or completely paying off the mortgage on the primary house. So this strategy is unlocking a lot of wealth for people. You could also build that ADU on your land and just hold it as an extra rental property. So now you're getting cash flow while living in your own house. So now you're killing two birds with one stone. A lot of us struggle with that. Like, well, I want to get rental properties, but I haven't bought a house yet for me. This is essentially doing both, killing two birds with one stone. But the wrinkle is you need to start to think a little bigger. And this is also part of developer mindset, is being able to do what I call outthink the average bear. You have to think about kind of the average person out there, the average investor, and they might be looking at a deal that's on the market just for the property that sits on it. If you come in and you look at it and you do the zoning research for your ADU, and you determine that, hey, I could actually build 3 ADUs on this acre because I have this 1/4 of an acre subdivision regulation that allows me to do that. Well, now you could take one property and turn it into 4 cash
assets ultimately, the property and then all the ADUs that sit on it. And this level of thinking unlock like it could unlock $1 million of profit for you. Like realistically, it could, because you're adding cash flow. Once you start adding cash flow to assets, the value goes up exponentially based on cap rates and the amount of cash flow that it can produce. Especially if you're buying something like a triplex and then building more ADU units on the land, you might build this into more of a commercial asset that now has a commercial valuation that far exceeds what you paid for the property and the land. So step one is really just understanding that this exists, opening up your mind to think a little bit bigger, to just think outside of the box a little bit, and not just about the property and viewing the property that sits uh, on this land, but actually looking at the land. Step two is going to be understanding the zoning for ADUs. There's all types of little wrinkles that are going to pop up in certain municipalities. One is how many you can build. So I believe San Francisco has a regulation, or it's one of the West Coast markets where you can essentially blow up the houses completely. So if there's a single family house on an acre, you could just blow up the house. You don't even need a main home. And you can just build all ADUs. You could build like 16 ADUs on the plot. And they don't care because they're so into affordability. They have the homeless crisis out there. And they just want you to build as many houses as you can. So if you're in some of those areas, you know you can get extremely frisky. You just need to find a builder, a relationship, get the numbers for how much it's going to cost, and structure the deal. It really is just a structuring issue because now even government-backed loans are financing this stuff. So you have more financing popping up by the literally by the day. There are nonprofit organizations financing this. There are smaller startup lenders financing this stuff, specialty lenders financing it, community lenders, government agencies. FHA 203K will now finance an ADU, but typically only for attached. So it would have to be like your garage or some type of attached extension of your original property that would be converted into an ADU, and then they'll finance it. So you're getting a lot of financing options that are popping up by the day, which is kind of back to that mindset of why you need to stay tapped in. Because while you're sitting there hemming and hawing about what the market's doing and where it's at now, it's changing and new financing's popping up. I mean, the Freddie and Fannie are now allowing you to buy multifamily properties for 5 or 10% down, whereas historically that's been at 20-30% down. So there's all these different wrinkles on financing that will pop up over the course of time, which require you to stay tapped in. But you gotta do your homework is the bottom line. Some of us don't know how to do our homework or know where to go or how to read through the zoning code and how to understand it. And mentorship can help with that. It really can. Over the course of time, I've read through the zoning guides so many times that I can kind of pick up anybody's zoning code because a lot of it is national. There's a national standard and even an international building code standard. So a lot of these codes you'll start to understand like, oh, well, there's going to be setback requirements and set forward requirements. Like I can't build at the bottom or the back of my land lot. I can't build at like the end perimeter of my land lot. And there's going to be setbacks from the street. So you start to learn the different rules on what exists. How many stories can you build? Can you build 2 or 3 stories? Some places allow you to build an ADU 3 stories. Most will only allow 2 levels. Some only allow 1 level. So you have to get into the zoning guide for your area. This is like this should almost be, it's almost step 1 to a degree, is to understand zoning. It's that important because if you're going after a deal and you don't know the zoning for the ADUs and you're just thinking, well, I can build whatever I want. Everybody's kind of backing ADUs, so I'll just go out and build 3 of them and then it's worth $1 million, but you can only build 1, or maybe you can barely build any because you have to owner occupy the building. Some areas you have to owner occupy the main building to be able to build the ADU. Other areas you don't need to live there at all. You could just, if you own the land and you want to build it because they just want it built and they don't want to get in the way of developers. So you just have to do all of your research to tap into the financing strategies that are available. You have to do some research there. And then there's different exit strategies, for these things. You could rent to own an ADU to somebody. You could just hang on to that thing and rent it out. You can reparcel it and flip it. You can do the other creative financing strategies with these things. Like there's a lot of exit strategies with your ADU, and you almost want to know your exit strategy, kind of all of these things before you ever enter the deal. You want to find enough land, understand your zoning, deal with your financing, and then have your exit strategy in mind. Whenever you're investing in real estate, you always want to invest with the exit in mind and multiple exit strategies. You never, I mean, you can go in with one exit strategy. I don't want to say you never want to do that, but if you are going in with one exit strategy, that's typically either a flip or like, hey, I'm just going to do a rental. I'm only renovating it to rent out, or I'm going for the flip. If it doesn't flip, maybe I'll hang on to it as a rental and wait out the market a bit, cash flow a little bit, and then put it back on the market. But this is the adult house hack, and it's in a nutshell. This is a strategy that if you haven't done a deal yet, you haven't used your FHA, you need to start to learn about and get well versed in ADUs. I first started learning about ADUs, I mean, many years ago, but revisited it a few years ago now. And it's definitely one of the waves of the future for adding density to a project, for adding density to a property, and just adding more bodies back into neighborhoods, which is what people want to do and need to do. And you're going to see this popping up more if you're on like the Northeast. You're going to see it popping up a lot more as we continue to move forward into the future. We got a few questions, so I'll dive in here. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, or even anything else real estate related, drop it in the chat section, and we'll kind of work through some of your questions. We'll keep flowing until we run out of questions. But I wanted to get you guys this information because some of this stuff is coming out like very recently. So my wife and I closed on our first deal a little over a month ago. We're both pushing 40. It's never too late. It's definitely never too late to get into this game. It's never too early and it's never too late. The only wrong thing to do is to sit on the sidelines and not play the game because we're in America. Like most of the wealth that's built in America is built through real estate. So if you're not playing the real estate game, you're kind of just setting yourself for almost a guaranteed fail. There are going to be those handful of people that start a good business and the business goes well, or they end up working at the right place and they get promoted and that's how they make their money. But most people, the average person, is going to make the majority of their wealth through real estate. And that's why, to me, the mission of continuing to educate people and build more developers is so important. It's maybe more important now than ever because you're seeing a lot of these big investment banks, the Blackrocks, the different investment firms, all these hedge funds. They're trying to buy all the real estate. They're working diligently. I believe the projection is by I think 2030, say that they'll own over 60 to 70% of the single family properties in America by 2030 at this rate. If things continue and they continue to grow with the exponential growth of acquisitions that they've been growing with. So there is an agenda out there to grab all these single family properties and make everybody a renter. So there is a window of opportunity. And it's got me pushing harder to build more people faster than even ever before because I believe if we wait too long, a lot of people just won't have any opportunity to get into the game. All the real estate will be owned by big corporations, hedge funds, and they're not going to let it go. And it's just the prices are going to go higher. They're going to control the pricing, right? They can control inventory. If they buy it all, they can take all, they could go out. These hedge funds have enough money to go into almost any major city and pour so much capital into that city and take so much inventory off the market, and they can just hoard it. They don't have to even fix a property necessarily if they have the cash. They could buy it all cash, just take it off the market. It's not for sale. And now you run out of inventory to even compete with. So now you have to outcompete other investors, bid up prices, and then the assets that they already own go up in value. And there's no reason why they won't play a game like that. So this stuff is getting serious. Like if you don't get started on real estate, and a lot of us, we need to think about not ourselves, but the next generation. If you don't get in, the next generation might not have an opportunity to get in and to be an owner, have a piece, especially if they don't already own property. They might have an opportunity to build an ADU on existing land, but what if you don't own anything? Now you're trying to come in and own. So you really have to start to take this stuff seriously, not only for your goals, and I know a lot of us, we have our goals. I mean, I talk to you guys every week, hundreds of you guys, and it's like, yeah, you want to make money. Some of you want to just get out of the 9 to 5. You hate your boss, you hate your job. That's good motivation. You want to spend more time with your friends and family. That's great motivation. But also, you have to be mission focused. Like, is this part of your mission to get to this level of information, to this knowledge, to have these experiences so that you can give back the information to the next generation and see what they can do it, but also give them land, give them properties, let them inherit value, let them inherit a bit of an empire, because I truly do believe there's going to come a point very soon in the next 20 years where so many people are priced out and inventory is like dead. The cost to build is too high for the average person, and you just can't get in. And then most of America, or most of our cities, become renter cities. We become more or less a renter's nation. And you sit back and watch these guys eat your lunch. I mean, they're the same guys that are paying for the news. They own they own shares in a lot of these news companies. So they're putting out news. The market's horrible, the market, and then they're raising billions of dollars to buy all the real estate while you sit on the sideline. It's crazy. But that's the game and the level that these guys are playing at. They're not playing any games with you. They will eat your lunch, they'll buy all the properties, and tell you it's a bad time to buy. They'll do both. So you gotta understand this game and how these people are playing. Um, Sarah, many cities require the owner to live on the property once the ADU is built. If you plan on moving out of your primary residence, is it worth building an ADU? Yes, because I don't believe, even if you have to live there when you originally build that ADU, I don't think that means you have to stay there indefinitely. You could still sell the property, make money off of that sale, take that money, go out and buy other assets, and then that new owner comes in and they own that property because they bought it, and then they still have the ADU. So it doesn't lock you in definitely. And then in some areas, you don't need to be living there as a primary residence to have the ADU, or you can have multiple ADUs or all ADUs. It's not a one size fits all thing. It's just a concept. What you have to realize is that these areas, they just want density. They're starting to kind of speak my language, which is the solution to the affordable housing crisis is to build more affordable housing. I mean, that's the solution. And to make it easier for affordable housing to be built. ADUs make it easier and incentivize the average person to build affordable housing, because you're building a one-story, two-bed, one bath. That's not going to rent for what a typical house is going to rent for, a starter home is going to rent for. It's going to rent for a little bit less. So it's forcing affordable housing and or allowing you to create more housing for your family. Because a lot of people are just going to have this land. They're going to build a house for the kids on their own land, and then their kids will have their own house, essentially, or their family will have their own house, or they'll build a house for their aging parents, and then when they pass, they'll rent it out. So it's allowing people to get more value out of their land, and build, more affordably. So that's what I would say is you have to do it. It kind of goes back to your research on the zoning for your ADUs. You just have to do your research. You don't want to watch kind of the national information that's going out and start making decisions. You got to dive into that zoning guide for the municipality. You want to call the construction department. You want to talk to architects, engineers. You want to do that level of research, because this stuff it's not going anywhere. Like, is it going to be this easy to build ADUs 5 years from now? Probably not. I don't know if it'll be this easy 2 years from now, but it's easy right now. So you need to run with it while it's easy, learn it as quickly as possible. But making that investment to ask these questions and get this information is going to put you in a way better position long term than not asking these questions, sitting on the sideline and kind of waiting it out. And you can get into this stuff cheaply if you're doing that FHA 203K. You can get into this stuff very affordably. So it's worth looking into. Um, can ADUs be built in a neighborhood that has an HOA? Yes, they actually can be built in a neighborhood that has an HOA. It would be the same, but you have to check with the HOA to make sure. I mean, of course, they might want to push back, but I don't know that they could have success pushing back on what's becoming more of a national mandate, and it's spreading like wildfire. But yes, you can do it because it's really the HOA is just about upkeeping the exterior. So I would say if you do it in a HOA area, it's highly likely that they're going to require it to be an attachment of an existing residence. So more of a conversion, like, hey, I had this big 5 bed, 3 bath with a 3 carport garage, and it was a huge garage, and we converted the garage into an ADU. That's what most people are doing. They'll go in there, put a kitchen, bathroom. You're already connected to the utilities and to the electric and kind of everything, insulation, drywall, new windows, and kind of reformat it into a little mini home. And just close off the connecting door space, like whatever door you would walk from your property into the garage, just get rid of that and put up like more of like a permanent wall. And with those are going to fly with the HOA because it's essentially still just your property. You could get it reparceled and everything, but in that HOA area, it's going to be a lot harder to have land and then build truly a new property and then be like, hey, HOA, take care of this property, um, because they're just going to push back on you. But I would say, from what I've been reading, the research I've been doing, having that be an attachment to your existing structure is going to allow you to do it in the HOA neighborhoods a lot easier with less pushback. And they may not be able to push back hard at all because of kind of the national push for this thing and the mandates coming from the top down. Can you put Section 8 tenants in an ADU? Of course. Section 8 tenants can live in any legal housing structure that is up to HUD housing guidelines. ADUs are not being built. It's not like you can just go out and pour some concrete in your back. I mean, you kind of could and build it up to code. But I'm just saying, if you didn't know how to build it, you're not just going to go pour some concrete in your backyard, stick build a house and slap somebody in it, or just build some shed and slap somebody in it. You're going to have to build this up to the housing codes, your zoning, and then your architecture codes. And it's going to be a livable space. It's going to be like a ranch house. And as long as it's up to code, scrape and paint, nothing wrong with it, and the city has passed it, the city inspector has passed that property, and it can pass a Section 8 inspection, yeah, you could Section 8 them all day. You could Section 8 them, you could Airbnb them, you could room rent them, you can, uh, short term rent them, mid-term rent them. You can do whatever you want with them. They're just essentially another house that's on your land. And if you go as far to reparcel it, it's a separate house now. So it would have its own tax ID, which I think the cities are just doing so they can get more property taxes out of you, quite frankly. But yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. You own it. It's your thing. Yeah, the hedge funds, they're coming for our food. They're coming for our money. The hedge funds are coming for you. Big money is coming for little real estate. Big money has wanted to get into little real estate forever, and now they're getting more clever. They're partnering with people who are more boots on the ground in their focus, and they're coming for these assets. And these are the assets that are the hardest to get to, but they're doing it out in those markets in the Midwest first because it's easier. And then when you get into like the Northeast cities, it's still more block to block in the Northeast cities. So it's harder to come in with 100 million or 500 million and really deploy that effectively into row homes. Because you have to be able to construct them. It's just it's a different beast. It's really a different beast. So in the Northeast, you're a little bit more immune than most areas. In the Midwest, the West, they're just going to come in and buy all of your real estate essentially. So you'd have to be worried a bit more than the average person in some of these other areas on how much inventory is going to be available. What's that going to do to pricing? Some of these things. But all of those signs point to get in the game. Get in the game before you think you're ready. If you're concerned or nervous, get mentorship, get to the knowledge, and don't get to the knowledge for short-term gains. You can make short-term gains, but get to the knowledge for the long-term wins that it'll provide you with, and for your family and the next generation, because they're waiting on you and they're relying on you. And if you blow it, it might just be blown. Like that might just be like, well, we didn't get in, so we're out, and the next gen is out too. You're kind of making that decision for them at this point. I know that can be a lot of pressure for some of us, but we have to think like that, because the competitors that we're playing against, they're not buying. Guess what? These hedge funds are not buying all this land and all these properties and saying, we'll hang on to it for 10 years and then we'll dump it back to the people. They're looking at this as forever holding. We're going to hold these rentals forever, in perpetuity. So they're not planning on like opening up an opportunity for anybody, and they won't need your money, because why would they sell you the house when they could finance it to you at whatever rate they want, when they could just hang on to it and charge you with whatever rent they want almost. So you really have to get conscious of this stuff from that level and understand the motivations behind it. Any other questions, drop them in the chat section, drop them in the comment section. We'll keep flowing as long as we have questions. If we run out, we'll wrap it up. Our deal came with an empty lot. The city says I cannot build on it because it's non-conforming. They said I need to put the lot in someone else's name to be able to build. That makes sense. Well, not quite. Well, let me read that again. Our deal came with an empty lot. Is that empty lot a separate tax ID lot? Do you mean it just came with space on your lot? Because those are two different things. The city says I cannot build on it because it's non-conforming. Non-conforming would be a matter of variance, I would say. So did you go in front of a zoning board? Who told you? Who told you from the city? Somebody who answered the phone? Did you call the construction department? Did you sit in front of a zoning board who said you couldn't build it, and you tried to get a variance and appeal and kind of all of that process? They said I need to put the lot in someone else's name to be able to build. Putting a lot in someone else's name wouldn't make it conforming to me. If the lot is non-conforming, it's more of a zoning issue, and then that zoning would require a variance. It will require some type of zoning board to approve the build, because the build is non-conforming, therefore it needs a variance. Putting it in somebody's name doesn't give it a variance. So I'm not sure who you spoke with. Sometimes you get these people on the phone and they just start giving you a runaround. It's two lots connected to each other. One has a house on it, one is empty. The lady that answered the phone, yeah. If this is the late. Here's the thing. Some people they're only gonna hustle as far as they're getting paid. I would say most people are like this. They're only gonna hustle as far as they're getting paid. So when you call in the city, if somebody answers the phone, they're getting like, hey, I'm getting $9.25 an hour. That could, I'm not saying it's always the case, but that could be as far as they care. They care about $9.25 an hour. So they're not doing the research. They're halfway looking through, I don't think you can build it, and blah blah. And they might try to come off as an expert, but no, it sounds like they're telling you a lot of conflicting things that to me don't add up. They don't make any sense. If it's a separate lot and it's non-conforming, that makes sense. But then you should be pushing for a variance to be able to build what you want to build and how you want to build it. But I wouldn't confirm that with the person on the phone. I would confirm that with an architect. I would contact the architect who knows the local zoning codes, and then see what they're saying about the land and what you can build. If you do need a variance, you can hire a zoning attorney to work with the architect, get the plans drafted, and they will sit in front of the board and argue with them on the legality of why they should allow you to build it. And you go through that process. I've gone through, multiple zoning variances and getting properties converted from single family to multifamily. It can definitely be worth the effort, but you just want to start to go up to that higher level of research. Don't stop where you're at. Don't take the first no. I dropped a YouTube short about how I never take the first no. Don't take the first no, especially from just the person who picks up the phone the first time. Half the time I don't even call anymore because I don't trust the people on the phone. I always do my own research. I talk to my architects, my engineers, and then I take it from there. So I would keep pushing on that one. It doesn't make sense to me. Putting it in somebody else's name. That doesn't, like, I don't, from a financing standpoint, you could put something in somebody else's name and maybe they can get financing because you couldn't or something like that. But from a zoning standpoint, putting it in somebody else's name doesn't change the zoning. It shouldn't solve the issue in my opinion. If you have a 4 bedroom unit, Section 8 allow tenants, 2 people to move in, even if there's 2 extra bedrooms. Um, yes. So how Section 8 works is it's essentially a lesser of model. Lesser of meaning there's going to be 2 variables, and whatever one is lower, that's what they're going to go by, um, unless it's to their benefit to do something different. So here's how Section 8 works. You got a 4 bed house. You're going to put it on the market for rent. You're going to get a whole lot of people applying to try to get into that house that don't have a 4 bed voucher. The 4 bed voucher basically is going to allow you to get more money. So with a 4 bed voucher, I can move into a 4 bed property. And it might say, hey, 4 bed vouchers pay up to $2,200 a month. So if I take a 4 bed voucher holder, they're going to get that 4 bed voucher because they have like 5 kids. So I'll put them into the 4 bed house. I get the $2,200 a month. Now, let's say they had a 3 bed voucher. Well, if I put the 3 bed voucher holder in a 4 bed house, I only get paid for the 3 bed voucher. So I only get paid as if it was a 3 bedroom. So they're gonna max me out at 1,700. And I'm like, wait, but it's a 4 bed. And they're like, yeah, but they're a 3 bed voucher. So we're only paying you for 3 beds. If it was a 2 bed voucher, they would only pay me for the 2 beds, not the 4 bed, not what the house is. On the flip side, let's say I had a 3 bed house. I had a 4 bed voucher holder, and they said, look, this house is so nice. Granite countertop, stainless steel appliances. Take my 4 bed voucher. Pays up to 2,200. I want to get in this 3 bed. If I take that 4 bed voucher and put them in a 3 bed, they still only pay me for the 3 beds. They don't pay me the maximum value of the 4 bed voucher. They won't pay me the 2,200. They're still only going to pay me the 17. So you're constantly dealing with a lesser of with Section 8. And it doesn't make the process tougher, but you also need to know the wrinkles of Section 8, which is there are more 3 bed there are more 3 bed vouchers issued than any other type of voucher. Then there are a lot of twos and ones floating around, and there are some fours and fives floating around. Very few sixes and sevens. Those are kind of the gold mines of a 6 and 7, because then you can buy these big townhomes, build these 6 bed properties, and then slap a voucher holder into them. And usually on those 6 and 7 bed vouchers, the government pays 100% of those usually, because it's somebody who's got 6, 7 kids, ages 15 all the way down to like 1. And their income is usually strained from having so many children. So the government is typically paying 100% of the rents in those scenarios. And the vouchers, because they're so big, they pay a lot. So that might be 3 grand a month, 4 grand a month coming in just from the government, paying 100% of the rent. And those are pretty safe. But that's kind of the structure of Section 8, and how many bedrooms you have, and how much they pay. They will allow them to move in. Heck, you can move a 1 bedroom voucher holder into your property, but they're only going to pay you for the as if it was a 1 bed. So you wouldn't want to do it. Typically, what I would see is some people would take a 3 bed voucher holder on like a 4 bed property, or a 4 on a 5. You can kind of do that. Most of the time, if I have a 3 bed, I want a 3 bed voucher holder. I don't really like to take the twos unless I have a 2 bed voucher, or like an apartment. I mean, a 2 bed property or an apartment, 2 bed apartment. I'll put the twos in there. The ones are perfect for your apartment buildings. If you have a 1 bed apartment at your property, the twos can be good if you have like a 2 bed with like another third room that's kind of like a kid's room. Sometimes you put a 2 bed voucher holder in that, even though it's technically a third bed, it's kind of small. So you can play around with it. Um, what's the least amount of size for an ADU in general? A tenth of an acre. I mean, a tenth of an acre, you could probably do a lot with. You could definitely build an ADU on that. I don't think, I think that question, the answer is really depending upon the municipality, because For instance, like if you look at the difference between Philly and Baltimore, if I'm in Philly and I want to convert a property that has zoning for multifamily, so it has the correct zoning for multifamily. If I want to build 3 units, I need 360 square feet of lot size per unit, which is way less than a tenth of an acre. 360 square feet of lot size per unit. So for 1080 square feet, I can build a triplex. Now, for if I'm in Baltimore, I need 750 square feet of lot size per unit in the same, hypothetically, the same zoned land. This is zoned for multifamily residential, but I need way more space to build that multifamily building in Baltimore than I do in Philly because the density laws are a little bit different. So the requirement is going to be different based upon the municipality that you're in. If you're in a good municipality, you can maybe build 3 ADUs on a tenth of an acre. Maybe a rougher one who's a little bit tougher on it, you can build one, but it's got to be attached to your house. Then in another area, doesn't have to be attached at all. It can be in the backyard. Doesn't matter. Other neighborhood, there's got to be an alleyway in the back, or you can't build it in the back of your property. It has to be alongside. So you have to get into the weeds, unfortunately. But these barriers of entry, these are going to hold other people out who don't have mentorship, who don't have access to the knowledge, who aren't thinking at this level. And that's where the value comes in, is your ability to think big is going to unlock value. And that is the ultimate form of being a developer, is thinking bigger. What can I do with this land? Can I do more with the land than other people are thinking? And if you can, then you can win big. You will be rewarded to the tune typically of hundreds of thousands of dollars to think bigger than the average person. In some instances, it could be millions of dollars if you're in the right area and you can build enough ADUs. So the first step is to just know it exists, study, um, then connect with your financing, and then understand your exit strategies and come up with a game plan. Just come up with a straight up game plan and then run the play. Don't get discouraged. Don't take the first no, because you're going to call in. The people on the phone, they don't know anything about ADUs. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not sitting there researching ADUs. They show up to the meeting. It's like, oh, we had a meeting about this. I was half paying attention on my phone. I don't think you can do it. And most people listen to that, by the way. Most people call in, they listen to the answer, and they're like, well, I can't do it. And then that's the end for them. It really is the people like me who are like, this person probably doesn't know what they're talking about. Let me push harder. Let me call over here. Let me talk to this person. Oh, so I can do it. Got it. I just need to be set back this many feet. Got it. I just need this much land lot space. Okay. And then you start to put the play together. Then you find the people to build it. Oh, I don't have to build a basement. I just build it on a slab. And I just build it one story, not two. And I can build back how far? And you start to put that play together. So you got to do the homework. You got to do your homework in this business. The more homework you do, the less mistakes you will make. So hopefully that answers that question. Um, I'm not sure if we have any other questions out there, but guys, if you got value, definitely like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment that says I subscribe. Share the content with somebody who you think can get value from this. I mean, realistically, with this strategy, the adult house hack, everybody can get value, because anybody who's buying their first property should be thinking about this. If you're buying your first property and you're not thinking at this level, you're making a huge mistake. Huge mistake. Because you may be buying a property with no land. Then you're screwed, because now you have this house and you could have gotten something with more land for the same price, and you just weren't thinking at that level. That could be a $500,000 loss right there, just in not thinking big. Wow, what's the average cost to build a fourplex, materials and labor? That's like a whole session. Um, there is not really an average cost. I would say that, well, the average cost would be, if you're talking ground up, would be probably around like somewhere between 180 to 220 a square foot for a multi like that. And you're going to run into a big expense on things like the sprinkler. Like these sprinkler systems have been going up in cost. The sprinkler on a 4 unit could cost you 60 grand just for the sprinkler system alone. Then you have, the build and the lot and the foundation and kind of all of those things. But I would say, 200 a square foot is pretty safe. So then the question becomes, it's not necessarily an average cost to build it, but how big is it? How big is the property? Is the property 4,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet? Typically, you're going to need at least, I would say, for 4 units. If you're building a bunch of one beds, but that wouldn't make sense to build 4 1-bed units. I would rather build a duplex than a bunch of one beds. I'd rather build a 4 bed over 4 bed duplex than 4 1 beds for the expense. But he said, "I know it's an ADU session." No, I'm open to all real estate questions, guys. Any real estate questions. This question is fine. But that's the cost because you're doing a ground up deal. Your real focus is on that 200 per square foot number. It's going to carry you through the deal. And then how many square feet is it? And that's really going to carry you through the deal. 2,000 square feet, ground up, multi, 350 to 400,000. So it's not like it has to be at that 200 number, but it's pretty accurate. And if you want to ballpark it, you can use that, and you can be deadly close to the number. Um, Hi, Brian. Can you speak a little bit about using IRA funds to invest in real estate? How does one avoid paying taxes on those funds? I think, I mean, one, it depends on your age. Can you get to that money without some of the penalties? Are you, 59 and a half, or are you old enough in terms of the IRA? Two is the location of, or the setup of the IRA. So is this in a self-directed IRA? So can I actually purchase the property in the name of the IRA and get financing? It would have to be non-recourse financing. There are some lenders that will do that, that will do non-recourse financing. You might need to personally guarantee it, but at least for the IRA, it would be non-recourse. So there's going to be some of that research that goes behind it, but have you moved your IRA into a self-directed? That would be important because now you don't need to have any tax situation because you're taking the money but keeping it in the tax wrapper of the IRA. So you're not removing the tax shield. So now even the rental income coming out of this property is going back into the IRA, and you're not paying taxes on any of it until you take the money out of the IRA. And that really is the best way to do it. Now, if you're like me and my kind of contingent, me, my brother, like everybody I talked to, we all cashed out our 401ks, IRAs, like everything. We just cashed them all out, ate whatever penalty was there because we were looking at the real estate and saying, if you take it and you put it into the real estate, you are going to create tax losses. You are going to be able to write off mortgage interest, some type of repairs or expenses, especially if you're doing this as an investor and buying an investment property. Some of your closing costs could be against that, like short-term loss write-offs, year one write-offs. So you can, in some instances, let's say you have 40 grand in a 401k. What should I do? I'd eat the low tax penalty on that 40 grand for the average person. It's barely going to push you up a tax bracket, and then take as much of that money as possible, put it into a deal. This rental property that you buy is going to kick you off real cash flow today, real money you can put in your pocket. It's going to give you tax losses that offset some of those gains that you're experiencing from cashing out the IRA or 401k or whatever you could get your hands on. And it's going to appreciate in value over the course of time, as real estate tends to do, and the rents are going to inflate over the course of time. It's a better asset to hold. The IRA 401k was kind of sold to a couple generations of us, right? Before that, it was a pension. Then they said, well, let's get rid of the pension. We'll sell them on this 401k IRA idea. That hasn't really worked out for the average person. The average person with a 401k IRA doesn't have enough money. You need about $2 million in your IRA 401k, maybe a little more now with inflation, to retire. You need about $2 million in there. So everybody watching this, go take a peek in your Vanguard account. Are you trending towards $2 million? Look at where it was last year or 2 years ago, and look at where it's at now. even with your contributions. If you're not trending towards $2 million by the time you reach the age where you want to be retired. So think about how many years until you want to be done. Is that going to be at 2 million or more? 2.5. If not, you do have to start considering, are there better assets? Because if you now you take that and say, all right, well, if I took this cash and got on a strategy where I was now able to acquire 5 or 10 properties over the next 5 years, and you could do 5 to 10 properties in a year, but I'm not gonna go there. Let's say just 5, 10 years, you're gonna get 5, 10 properties, and each one of those is gonna kick you off. If it ain't kicking you off $1,000 now, as rents inflate, as things change, as debts get paid down, each of those is going to kick you $500 to $1,000 a month. That's now 5 to 10,000 a month coming in cash flow. Could you be chilling on $5 to 10,000 of cash flow every month coming in without going to work, and with that number inflating with rents, inflating with the cost of inflation as it goes, wherever it goes? If that is that a better strategy? And you have to think like this, because the people who give you the 401ks and IRAs, they don't care. They don't care if you can retire. They don't care if you do well. That's the reality. They don't care. It's not their problem. They're like worried about their family, their goals. They're not worried about you. So you can take your money and put it into that plan. And I'm here to tell you, like, I've worked at high net worth firms where we manage money for multi-millionaires, people with as much as 80 to 100 million in the bank. And I've seen the calculations where you would do what's called a Monte Carlo analysis, which will run like 1,000 iterations of the market going up, down, left, right, and all these different things, and where your portfolio is, and if it grew on average at a 6% rate of return, would you be able to retire? How much money would you? I've seen these analysis. You need a couple million. You need a couple M's, but you don't need a couple M's to get 5 cribs and get $5 grand a month. Like, you don't. You probably only need 50 to 100K, or the right strategy, or 30K and a good strategy, or 20K and a good strategy, and to get started and to get cash flow and save that cash flow and reinvest it. So all my guys, we were looking at this in our 20s, realistically. And we were just like, these people are crazy. We're cashing these things out. Because we had 30, 40K in there, but we weren't making any money anyway. So it's like, well, what? I'm going to pay $5 grand, $8 grand on taxes. I'm not even going to pay that. I'm going to generate more tax losses off of this deal than it even cost me the tax penalty. Bring it on. And we went out and bought the real estate. So you have to make your decision. And this is just information. This is not, I'm not your tax advisor. I'm not your planner in that sense, but I'm giving you guys this information so that you can do your research, do your homework, and come up with the decision that you think is the best for you and your family. But don't just be part of the herd that takes their money and just slaps it into the IRA 401k and thinks it's going to be all right, or that you're doing the right thing because that's what somebody told you or what everybody else is doing. It doesn't matter. 95%, I mean, I've shown you guys the graph, many of you, 95% of people can't retire at all. Like they can't really retire comfortably. I think 65% when they retired are still living off of friends and family. 65%. Another 30% work until they die. You just work until you're dead. There is no retirement. You just get sick, you die. You got to keep working until you're just dead. 1% retires wealthy. Another 4% retires comfortably. They hit that 2 million where they can just kind of be comfortable, live off their own, Social Security, kind of do that thing. That's only 4%, 5% total, and then one of that 5% retires wealthy, where they can travel, they can go on we're gonna take a vacation. We're spending about $500,000 a year on vacations. That's 1% of people can do that. The other 4, they can't do that, but they're comfortable. And then the other 95%, 30% of those people worked until they died, so they're just dead. They're off the chart. They're off the map. And then the other 65% is living off of friends and family, the government. They're moving back in with their kids. And a lot of you, I know that scares you guys. Like, man, I'm be moving back with my kids and really living off of my family. But yeah, that's the reality. And that's why this game is serious. And that's why when people tell me, oh, you know what, Brian, I'm just going to sit on the sideline, I'm not motivated enough. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll see where that gets you. Because I've seen it. I sold Medicare insurance before. I've seen the end. I've seen, oh, some of these people, like, you don't have money, they slap you in this government retirement home. This thing's like a prison. Like the way it's managed, the way it's like the upkeep of this place. Like it's like a freaking, you get like a cell, like a little room, and it's like that's it for you. And I saw that, in my 20s, and I was like, man, this the motivation right here. People need to see this, because some people, like, it's almost like when they tell me they're not ready for real estate, they think they're like, I can't really put a quite the right phrase on it, but they almost think like they're smarter than the game, or I'll get around to that when I'm. And it's like, bro, this thing is short. You don't got time to get around to this. But I'll let you do it. Like, you can run off. I'm not gonna fight. It's almost like people think I'm gonna fight them and chase them down to get them mentorship, to educate them and help their. And it's like, bro, I'm here, but I can't put a gun to your head to do real estate. You gotta want to do it. You have to understand and have woken up to that level. He said scared straight. Yeah, I was scared straight. I was scared straight onto the path of, yeah, real estate is it. Because if you don't have cash flow at the end of the day, you get put here. You get put in this box over here. A lot of people don't know that until they get there. I've sat down with people who their family doesn't even come to visit them. I almost couldn't leave the appointment. Nobody's come to visit them in 5 years. It's just like they're just off. They're almost off the map, but they're just off and alone and trying to survive. It's real out here. I don't want to be the bearer of like bad news or like horrific news, but it's real out here. Then you got the hedge funds trying to buy all your opportunities, and you're like, man. And then you want to sit on the sideline and just give them unlimited time to grab all these assets. It's to me, it's crazy. It's the worst decision is to sit on the sideline. It's the worst decision possible. But some of us just are so not ready or so distracted by life or other things that we choose that. To me, it's sad. But I'm here for the people who are ready to go. I'm here for the people who are ready to take action. I'm here for the people that need the one-on-one mentorship, who understand, like, hey, the cookie cutter approach is not going to get me there. I need that one-on-one. I need somebody to hold my hand through this. I'm there for big thinkers that want to think outside of the box, that want to build, that want to become developers, that want to, make that change. So it is sad to see some people not make the decision to start their journey, but at the same time, I can't work with everybody anyway. So I think what it does is it keeps me free to focus, on the people who are ready. So yeah, he said I'm a real estate warrior. I definitely am a real estate warrior. I mean, I'm out here fighting with, alongside, and for you guys, quite frankly. Somebody told me, I literally was talking to a guy, and this is the second time I heard this number. That somebody charged them 50 grand. They were charging 50 grand for one-on-one mentorship, $50,000. And I was like, damn, that is crazy. People can't afford that, 50 G's. So it's like, we have this program, we make it within a price range where people can get tapped into, but you got to tap in. But more of tapping in is understanding the reality of this thing. It's not just about making a couple dollars in real estate. This is not real estate or crypto. That's foolish. That's childish. Those are not two options. This is real estate and building cash flow and wealth for your family, or being part of the people who work till they die or have to live off of friends and family until they die. That's the reality. And that's my mindset when I wake up every day. It's like, when I check out of here, I'm leaving these cribs behind. I'm leaving an empire. I'm leaving an empire behind. Your job is to give your family a kingdom. You're here to build a kingdom. All of you. if you're watching this, definitely, you're here to build a kingdom. Working a 9 to 5 is not building a kingdom. Just surviving, getting by, paying, it's not building a kingdom. But even if you are working a 9 to 5, if you're building a portfolio, you're building a kingdom to hand over to your pride, your family. So that's it's an important part of the journey. Um, I'm not sure what this question is. So that's the total asset value and how much in average income. I'm not sure what that's related to. A whole investment property for mentorship. Yeah. Um, so guys, hopefully this information helped you guys. I hope it helps. I hope the mindset pieces help to shape for you guys why I'm so obsessed with this thing, because I truly am obsessed. Part of it is nerding out on real estate. Part of it is just positive obsession with real estate, everything that's going on, why this is valuable to us long term. But this is valuable to us long term. We have the opportunity right now. Stop thinking it's a bad time to invest. That's what they want you to believe. It's a bad time to invest. They're buying billions of dollars of the same real estate while they pay the news to put out articles that say this is a bad time to invest. That's what these guys do. It works. That's why they're doing it. They don't do things that don't work. So they do this to trick the masses. And that's why we're free thinking investors. We're not the masses over here. We're free thinkers. Guys, hope that helped. House hack. If you got value, share the video, like, comment, subscribe. Stay tapped in. Reach out to me. If you're interested in mentorship, one-on-one mentorship, the ride along. The ride along. I'm going to start to promote more as we get into, I guess, November. So once we get into November, which is very soon, we'll start promoting the ride along. I'm only bringing out 10 to 15 people. So make sure you tap into that if you're interested. Tap in ASAP, because those tickets typically don't last, and I do keep them small because I want to spend that time with you guys. I want to spend, like, if I brought out 40 people, of course it's a cash grab, but it's like I don't get to spend as much time with you guys individually, and I've found that the biggest value for those missions is like we got to really pick Brian's brain. Like, we got to ask a lot of questions, and you guys get to build relationships with each other, people from all across the country. We have mentees in all 50 states now, and even outside of the country. So you can now build relationships with people who are making things happen. They know contractors in the city you want to invest in out of town. They got contractors. They have relationships. So that's part of bridging the gap as well. And that's why you should also join the Facebook group. Click the links in the description. You can tap into the Facebook group, subscribe to the channel, get the free training if you're looking for free real estate training. All of that stuff is in the description links. So make sure you guys stay tapped in. And hopefully that helps. I'm going to sign off. I'll see you guys on the next one. And just get in the game. The best way to get in the game is to stay in the game. Stay locked in. Stay tapped in. Understand one door is closing. More doors are opening. More opportunity means more cash flow. And definitely take a look at I'm glad that IRA question was asked, because we don't talk about it enough. Make sure you look into your IRA, 401k, and see, what are my options here? Can I do in-service withdrawals? Are there ways to get my money out of the game and into real estate? And when you're investing in real estate, I will say this, because there's been a lot of real estate. If you guys have been watching like the news, there's been real estate scams and things going on in Jersey and with certain people. You guys know what I'm talking about, and I don't like name dropping people or anything, because I'm not like, you really don't know with this stuff until the court cases are resolved and everything is resolved. But when you're investing in real estate, put your money into the real estate and own it. Don't give, like, you don't even want to give somebody, hey, I'm going to give you 100K and I want you to take the 100K and put it into the deal for me. That's way too risky. How even our boots on the ground program is run, we don't, like, we're actually fronting the money on the projects for you, so that your money is kind of protected. And then as the work is done, it gets released back from the lender to pay off the contractor. But we don't even take money up front from our boots on the ground people, because there's a right way to do things. with a bit of integrity. And if somebody's asking you for $50,000, $100,000 up front, and they're going to go out and do the deal, that can be a red flag. It should be a red flag, especially if you have somebody like me telling you, control the money, don't get put down more than 10%. Do your research and all these different things. So just be diligent out here. Be diligent out here. Not everybody out here has a good heart or wants to help. Some of these guys out here, some of them are narcissistic and they just want to hurt people. Like they really just like hurting people. I don't get it. It doesn't resonate with me. I don't want to get it. I don't want to spend time at that frequency. But I do know that it's out there, and there are people out there who they just love hurting people, man, and taking your money and running away um, to do these deals. So I think the boots on the ground program, the way that we've designed it, in a way where you can get a deal, put it under contract, control your money, you own it. You're not giving somebody else money to get you into some deal that they own, and then they're going to bring you back profits and all this nonsense. You guys are plenty smart. You're plenty capable. If you're smart enough and capable enough to sit back and stay tapped into these sessions, you're smart enough and capable enough to get out here and do your own deal. If you need me to hold your hand through a deal, trust me, mentorship is a lot less expensive and a lot more knowledge and value than getting burned for 50 grand or 100 grand and crying on the news and having to sue somebody for money you'll never collect. So now you're throwing good money after bad money, because now you got to pay lawyers 50, 100,000 to the lawyer, and you still don't get a dime back. It's just all a total loss. So stay tapped in, protect yourselves, and just don't get scammed out here. Don't get fooled out here. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. And if you're not ready to go all the way yourself, tap into mentorship and get the blueprint and the easy button and the fast track. That's about, I would say, as far as you should go in that arena. That's about all I'll say about it. Is most of the people who make that mistake is because they gave up control of their money, too much of it up front. I've been guilty of this too, and I went through it. So I understand the allure of it and why people do it, because you're like, I'm afraid of the construction. They know it. Let me just give them all my money and they'll handle it. But there's a better way. The Boots on the Ground program is one of the better ways. Maybe there are other better ways out there. I only trust what I can, control and try to build for other people. But just don't get burned. Just try to do what you can and not get burned out there. And the best way to not get burned is to get educated first and to know what you're doing and believe in yourself. Hope that helps. Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, signing off.